By far, the best place to buy hand tools is... Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today I want to talk about my trip to the Midwest Tool Collectors Association. It is really one of the best places in the entire world where you can find hand tools. And I know a lot of people out there have had problems with, where can I find this particular tool? I can't find it anywhere, and they're looking in all the wrong places. And you can find them on eBay, you can find them online in several places, you can find them in antique stores, but in a lot of those places you have to go hunt and peck, and you're never going to sure if you're going to find a good deal or not. Whereas with the Midwest Tool Collectors Association and several other locations kind of like it, you can be pretty much assured when you go there you're going to find the tool you want, and you're going to find it at a reasonable price. Now there are several other groups other than the Midwest. There's one out on the Pacific Coast, which there'll be an event coming up out there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. There's also a group in Colorado, and I've heard about a couple other smaller groups around. And so hopefully I'm going to be getting kind of a map eventually of where all of these events and places are. It'd be kind of nice if there's just one group, but there's not. And there are other groups around the world, but the Midwest Tool Collectors Association really is the big one. It covers most of the United States, also goes up into Canada, and there's a couple other events that have been in other countries. So it's kind of the granddaddy group. So this last week I was able to go to the Midwest Tool Collectors Association National Meet. There are two of these a year, one in June, one in September, and this one was in Lansing, Michigan. And this is kind of the big granddaddy event. It is one of the most amazing things in the world for collecting hand tools. On Thursday you show up and there is a tool meet out in the parking lot. And this is basically a place where everyone can pull up, open up their truck, set out a table, and sell things. You're going to find cheaper quality tools. You're going to find cheaper prices on tools. You're going to find the bigger tools, the dirty tools, the rusted tools. Often the tools where you're going to get a better price or a better find, you're going to find outside in the parking lot. Then on Friday and Saturday we go inside, and inside you're going to find the higher quality tools, the more of the collectibles. You will find a lot of the cheaper stuff in there as well, but you will be focusing more on the more expensive tools, the rarer finds, the things that you really want that you can't find anywhere else. Those will be inside on Friday and Saturday. On top of all of that, the National Meet also has classes, it has demonstrations, it has meet and greets, there's a couple tours of local facilities. It's just an all-around fun time that happens twice a year. Then on top of that, there are local meets that are happening usually every weekend, every other weekend, somewhere around the United States. From Pennsylvania down into, up in Wisconsin, down into Georgia, pretty much anywhere from Mississippi east, and even a few places onto the west side of the Mississippi. Trying to get some more down towards like Texas and Oklahoma. If you live in that area and would like to host one of these events, we can make it happen. We're just looking for people who can actually be the feet on the ground to actually get these started. So if you are new to hand tool woodworking and you're looking for tools, this can be an amazing opportunity to really kickstart your collection off. Now the Midwest Tool Collectors is really geared towards collectors. The people who say, I want to collect this particular type of hand tool or this particular tape measure, and I want to get all forms of those. That's really where this comes into great being, because you can find other collectors and you can find that specific piece that you can't find anywhere else. Whereas if you're a user, you may see all of these really high-priced, rare things, and you think, wow, who would pay $1,000 for a hand plane? But you have to understand it's a collectible hand plane with very special things, and only a few of them were made. And then you find another bucket down at the end of the table where they have a dozen other hand planes that are all rusted that you can buy for 10 bucks a piece. So that's kind of the difference in what you're looking for when you go there. So a little bit about how the Midwest Tool Collectors Association works. It's very similar to the Pacific Northwest group as well. As you buy a yearly membership, it's 25 bucks for the entire year, so really darn cheap. And some people ask you, why should I buy a membership in order to go to the meetings? Well, the membership really buys you the publications, so you get the gristmill, which is kind of a group update, as well as some other information. And then once a year, they actually republish an old manual or an old catalog from, Stanley. What did Stanley sell this year? It was kind of good information, and you're buying those publications and the information. And then on top of that, once you're a member, then you get invited to the meets. You might get invited to the local meets that are within your area, 6, 8 to 10 hours drive away from you. You'll probably get an invite to that, and then you can go to that. The local meets are usually about $10 to get in the door, and those are a fantastic place. They're usually one day. It's about the size size of a basketball court on average, and they're filled with tables and tools, and it's a lot of fun. Then you have the national meet, which you can go to, and those you can buy different things. You can buy the ticket to get in the door, you can buy tours, they have a meal usually, and so the price of that may vary, but it's usually like $45 to $60 for your national meet. And those then get you in the door so you can look at the tools there. And some people ask you, why should I buy a membership and then pay a price to get in the door just to look at buying tools? Well, it's one of the ways that they can keep prices down. If everyone spends a little bit of money to pay for the facility to host this event, then it can be a lot cheaper. Whereas if you just put that price onto the sellers, then half the sellers wouldn't be able to show up because they wouldn't be able to make any money. And number two, all the prices of the tools would skyrocket because then they have to cover the cost of it. And so that's a way that they can keep the price down. So it's a way that you can actually save a little bit of money by paying it a little bit up front. Now, the Pacific Northwest group is fairly similar, and so if you are on the West Coast and you're trying to find these tools, it can be a little harder out there. But this is a great group for people on the West Coast when you want to find those tools and you'd love to go to that place where you can find thousands of tools for sale. The Pacific Northwest Tool Collectors is definitely the place you want to be. And this particular year is a special year because in every other year they have a big meet, which is kind of like the Midwest Tool Collectors National Meets. But it's a little bit bigger because it only happens once every 2 years. I'm hoping to make it out there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get enough money to do it this year. But if you would like to see me out there, I'm going to be doing a GoFundMe to try and get the money to get out there. And I'd like to make a video about different locations on the West Coast where you can buy tools. So if you'd be interested in helping out with that, I have a GoFundMe account. I'll leave a link to that down in the description below. On top of that, all proceeds from shirts, card scrapers, and the puzzles on my website will be helping to make this trip happen. I really want to get out there and show where tools can be purchased on the West Coast, as well as I might have a chance to go out and see the Tally-Ho project and do a video on woodworking on traditional wooden boats, and I think that would be a fun time as well. So if you'd like to make that happen, I would really use your support, and thank you for that. Now, I've had a bunch of people asking me, what all did you buy at the Midwest Tool Collectors Association meet this year? And so I kind of have settled out here what I bought for myself and a couple things that I bought for other people. And I figured I'd take a chance to walk you through this and show you some of the things that I have looked for here in the past. But if you do look at my back wall here, probably somewhere around 30 to 40% of all my tools have been purchased at the Midwest Tool Collectors meets. So it really is a great source for when you're looking for that particular plane. Like a Stanley 5.5. They're hard to find, but I found several of them at this meet when I bought this one. I got it for a fairly good price. I think I paid $45 for that one, which is a phenomenal price for a large hand plane. Now I have a project coming up here soon where I'm actually making a class for Shannon Rogers at the Hand Tool School, and we'll be talking about restoring tools. So I've been purchasing a bunch of things for that particularly, and I wanted to get a comparison between a really rusted, junky plane. Can you actually restore this? Is it worth the money? And an off-brand decent plane, is it worth the money on that? And so we can kind of get a comparison to that, as well as some chisels, a marking gauge, and some other things for that class about restoring all different types. We'll go through chisels and saws. Then a couple things I purchased for myself. I've been wanting to get a big wrench. This one's a little beat up. I got it for, I think, $4. Someone used it for a hammer. I think I might clean this one up and restore it, but they had a whole bunch of these in much better condition for like 10, $15. I love them with the wooden handle. Matching that, I got a screwdriver. I've been looking for one of this. There's a couple different companies that made these with the wooden handle, and I just like this. It's great for taking off the lever cap so you're not busting up your cap lever. I got a Nicholson float holder, and this actually has a really nice float in it that hasn't been used much at all. I've been wanting to get one of these for a while. They're great for cleaning up tenons and shoulders when you really want that smooth surface that only a float can bring. And with this, you can actually tension it. You can switch out the file on there and have a lot of fun with that. One of my friends actually gave me this. It is a Champion plane, and it has an old plastic handle, but it has a very interesting frog, and he gave me this so that I could restore it and maybe make a video on that in the future. That should be kind of fun. Then I finally purchased a little shoulder plane. This is a Stanley number 92. I think I paid $25 for this, so it was a great deal. It's a nice little shoulder plane. I got a little bit of work to do on it, but all the parts are there, so it should work pretty well. Then one of my big finds was this Miller Falls number 85. It's basically the Stanley number 78, but in perfect condition with the box, all the parts. I'm really, really happy with how this came out. A lot of times the fence and depth stop from this alone will cost the same price as the whole rest of the tool. But in the box, for 30 bucks, I could not beat it. It was a fantastic deal. And then I purchased a bunch of individual gouges. I'm particularly putting together a set for my mother who's wanting to get into carving, so I got her a set of different radius gouges, as well as a V-tool and a skew chisel, so this will kind of get her started in carving. And then on top of all that, I purchased probably $300 or $400 worth of tools for several other people who couldn't make it to the event and said, hey, can you look for that? I bought 2 different router planes, a shoulder plane, another wrench, and a set of chisels and a few other things for a couple other people. So that was kind of a fun thing to actually go out and purchase tools for someone else. So the Midwest Tool Collectors Association really is the best place in my money to find tools. Number one, you're going to find the tool you want. There's one of everything there. Number two, you're going to get a decent price. You're not going to get a crazy, amazing price because most people there know what things are worth. But you're going to find what you want. You're going to get a fair price on it. Now, I really want to go find out more about the Pacific Northwest and actually do a video on finding tools on the West Coast. So if that's something you'd like to help me with, you can see the GoFundMe down there. Hopefully we can make this trip happen, and I'm really looking forward to that. If you do have any questions about this or would like to share your favorite place for finding tools, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear about that. I do want to say thank you to the patrons on Patreon because you are what makes this channel happen. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can do so right down there. That's about it for today. Until next time, have a wonderful day.